Hello, 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 hello. This is basically probably a storyline now that I'm looking at it. But it's supposed to be like horror, so. Oh, a control game. Hey, control game. I can't wander.
You cannot hide! Not from me! Not the boy! I failed you, son. Forgive me. Forgive me. I will let you down no longer. Forgive me. Forgive me.
What are you doing? What are you doing?
thy commandments.
Coward! You betrayed your family!
Le fu le cloich gion mi mehucha. Gaboje am prish gabe mi rish. You're too late! You will not get him! It'll work. It must. Be safe, my son.
Dearest David, it was with great joy that I received your last letter. Know that you are missed terribly here in India. If my calculations are correct and the International Postal Service is kind, this letter will keep you company as you make the final leg of your journey to Scotland. I hesitate to say anything for fear you'll think me foolish, even hysterical. Your father made it his life's work to research his family's twisted history. This and his obsession with the occult combined to unravel his poor mind. John loved his family and his family home, but he hated and mistrusted them in equal measure. Son, beware of the Gordons. Blood is not always thicker than water. Your loving mother.
Good sir, how much longer until we reach the castle?
Almost there, sir.
Just like 2 hours ago. The estate really does lie off the beaten track. This countryside couldn't be more different to India. some sort of broken toy. Should I even try to read any real meaning into all of this?
We have arrived, sir.
Yeah, this is a storyline. You're just playing a storyline game. That's all this is.
Welcome, Mr. Gordon. I'm Andrew Harrison.
Mr. Harrison, it's good to finally meet you. From our correspondence, I expected you to be older.
Thank you. I'll lead the way. It's quite dark already. We can continue to talk inside.
A late hour. If I may, I would like to know more about my father's last days.
It is too late in the day for such morbid talk. You do look so very much like John, though.
An impressive building. Skarhan Dutha. Unusual. What is its meaning?
Unusual only if you have not bothered to study Gaelic. It means Black Mirror House. Many generations of the Gordon family have been master of this house. It is a great responsibility. Perhaps the greatest a man could bear. Angus, please show Master David to his room.
Yes, ma'am.
I trust you had a pleasant journey. This place is rather remote, even for Scotland.
It was most pleasing, thank you. I was fortunate enough to stop off in several fascinating places on my way here. How long have you been practicing law?
I came to the bar a few years ago. I'm at chambers in Edinburgh with lawyers who have served the Gordon family for generations. I'm embarrassed to ask, but it is my job. Have you proof of who you say you are? You are David Gordon, son of the late John Gordon.
Please, I quite understand. Here you are.
What a curious object.
Isn't it? It belonged to my father. He posted it to me shortly before his death. I'm not at all sure what it is.
Perhaps it's something else returning home where it belongs, like its new owner. Have a good night, Master David. I shall continue my studies.
Please follow me, Master David.
I could wander. Yay. Well, not that much of wandering, though. It's still blocking me.
This way, sir.
Yeah, it's still blocking me. Yeah, so all you could do is follow the game. It's just a story.
Your grandfather, his lordship Edward Gordon.
These are all family members?
Yes, sir. The Gordons are one of the oldest families in Scotland. Please, sir, I advise you to do as your grandmother instructed and get some sleep. You must be weary.
Somebody still cares. Maybe you weren't as bad as Mother believed.
If you would be so kind as to follow me, sir.
Grandfather Edward. Father never spoke of you, but Mother never had a kind word to say. You were the worst of the lot, she said. There is no denying it. We are family.
Your room is this way.
I've annoyed the old fellow enough. First impressions count.
Anytime you're ready, sir.
I suppose it's hard to keep things dry, what with all the rain you get here.
Most amusing, Master David. We do our best, sir. None of us are as young as we used to be.
Magnificent.
That is the Master's study, sir, but there'll be plenty of time to examine it in the light tomorrow. This way, sir.
Pieces of some kind of drawing. How odd.
If you would be so kind as to follow me, sir.
First of all, I don't know where you went.
Your room is this way. Please, sir, I advise you to do as your grandmother instructed and get some sleep. You must be weary. Anytime you're ready, sir. This way, sir. Please, sir, I advise you to do as your grandmother instructed and get some sleep. You must be weary. It does that sometimes, sir.
Cooking up dope in the crock pot. We came from nothing to something. I don't trust nobody, grip the trigger. Nobody call up the gang and they come in your jam.
Lady Gordon expects you for breakfast at 8, sir.
Thank you. Lady Gordon called you Angus? Pleased to meet you, Angus.
Yes, sir. She did. I am Mr. McKinnon.
Mr. McKinnon. Yes.
I'd advise you not to leave the room tonight. Ticking clocks are not the worst thing you may encounter in the house at night, if you don't know your way around. Sleep well, sir.
Maybe he's more of a morning person.
Alright, your own trophy right there.
I doubt this place could ever be properly warm.
You're a great judge. You've been around for a long time. I'm ready to do it. You stop buttering me up right from the beginning, man. I'm not buttering you up. There she goes, right? I'm not buttering you up. You've been here for a long time. You're an OG.
Hold on. This looks like... Wait a moment. This is a piece of a model.
I see you have a Patriots jersey on. You got that jersey pretty quickly. I know your brother gave it to me. I believe that's your brother.
I got somewhat turned around following Angus through the house. Sorry, Mr. McKinnon. But I think my room is probably around here somewhere. This room has to be next to mine. Is this what Father was trying to tell me with the trinket he sent me? This room has to be next to mine. Is this what Father was trying to tell me with the trinket he sent me?
Where'd you get that? He gave me the jersey? Yeah, it's off his back. Come on. Can I say something? I want to give a shout out to Tom Brady.
Everything I ever owned could fit in there, 5 times over.
Go Janelle, got the baddest man today. And if you're watching, Tom Brady, you're all that. So first you're buttering me up, now you're going after Tom Brady. They might be watching, Judge. Who's next, Gronkowski? Tom Brady. Seriously, I'm not joking. Did he really give you that shirt? Yes, off his back. You know why? Who do you think he got that?
Glad I don't have to carry you around anymore. Mr. McKinnon lifted you up with ease. Without some obscure local law that required me being here in person, I would probably never have come. A pigeon amongst the cats.
Sorry to inform you of death of John Gordon. Stop. Please return to Skahandu House. Stop. Andrew Harrison, lawyer. Stop.
This handsome, cheery, sober man. He's not the one I remember from my childhood.
That's who I
Not
know.
many matches left.
So I popped it in the firing spot. Because
I should get a new passport. This one's filling up.
sorry, give me a shot. Because people don't really talk about it. And I put it there because I thought it would be safe. But when I came out, I had a ticket. Let me ask you a question. Look at me, please.
I can barely see my hand in front of me.
Yes, and because of the health issue, you got to go with us. Okay. We're the fireman part, because I think it would be safe. And it's related to your health issue. I understand. Your health history is your own history. And
My faithful friend Insomnia. I wonder if Andrew has left the library yet. My faithful friend Insomnia. I wonder if Andrew has left the library yet.
Yes, it is. I need to give a shout out to Tom Brady again.
On the way out, see if Inspector Quinn will give you some money for breakfast.
That's really what happened.
Great job, sir.
He don't even know my name and tell him I have a warrant. What did he do? That's what I'm saying. For what? For what? I'm not gonna be the next nigga you feel. He don't even know my name and tell him I have a warrant. What did he do? That's what I'm saying. For what? For what? For what? For what? I don't even live in Louisiana, so how do I have a... You don't know my name, so how can you tell me I have a warrant in Louisiana? Sir, stop. Clarence, okay, well, you need to have something without me. You don't even know me. I respect you. No, you don't even know me. You don't even know my name. Hold me aside. Why would I trust you? Hello. I'm confused. He don't even live in Louisiana. No. You don't. How can you tell me I have something you don't know my name? My name is not Quentin. What the fuck is wrong with you? Sir, his name is not Quentin. Let's see the ID when we're done. Okay, hold on. You told me 3 different names. You woke up and told me 3 different names. Hold on. That's the 3rd name you just No, I'm not gonna be the next nigga you feel. No. His name is not Quentin. Fucking Quentin. Let's do this and be done. I got no problem with you just shot in front of my fucking house. Yes, I know who you are. It's what's my name? Man, fuck that. You shaking like you scared. I'm not gonna let you put me in handcuffs. Please stop. Please stop. My name is not no fucking Quentin. You don't even know my name until I got a warrant in Louisiana? Yes. Do I look like a... Show me the picture. Oh my God. Sir, who are you looking for? Because you say like get my phone out of the car. Then you got him running. Calm down. Man, fuck this shit. Please calm down. Who are you looking for? Yes, I want to. I want to do so we're done and over with. Okay? Okay, well, you shaking it. No, put your phone on me. Okay. Right here? We're good? Okay. Here's the deal. Look a lot like you. No, look like me. That's not him. What's wrong with you, man? What you trying to say because I got glasses on black, that's me? No. That's not him. She can see that's not me. Oh, my God. No, what? Stop. You got no problem? My name? You ain't got no problem. Shit. You ain't. No, please stop. Two of y'all is going to take over. Please stop. Please leave him alone, please. No, that is not him. Please leave him alone. Get out of my yard, man. No, you need to get the fuck out of my yard. You just said I'm somebody named. You got friends in me, black? Come on. What the fuck is that shit? Okay, come on. Nah, fuck that. Okay. Now you want to leave, right? No, I want to do reporting. No, you need to get somebody here that's over you because you just made the biggest fucking mistake. Why the fuck you pull in front of my yard? Because I'm black or trans and tell me I gotta walk. Okay.
Y'all just don't realize this crap happen every day. Like, I'm tired of it. Truth is, Caucasian more look alike. Like, I watched a video of someone saying that Caucasian, there was a bunch of Caucasians in New Orleans, and they was talking about the Caucasians in New Orleans were, you know, all of them smell like bacon. Keep trying to tell people where they really from. This game corny, whoever just walked in, thank you.
More pieces of the same
It
drawing.
ain't nothing but a story.
Maybe I can make out what it shows if I had enough of them.
I'm gonna keep stopping and talking, that's all it is. I'm checking out to see what it is.
The candle is nearly gone, but it should do for a while once lit. Ah, just what I need.
And you only could do what the game tell you, so whatever's highlighted, that's all you're able to do. You can't really wander. They tell you pretty much that, like, guess it's like a horror, but yeah.
I find a lot of people have no clue of the privilege that they have. I have been given a huge platform across the country, in some forms even around the world, because I'm white. And many black parents lose their children. Many Muslim parents lose their children. Jewish parents lose their children, and nobody pays attention. And because we have this myth of the sacredness of the white female, I've been given a platform. So I'm going to use that platform to keep drawing attention back to where the issues are.
Thank you, Ms. Pro. And I'm moved in hearing you speak about these issues so eloquently, and in your experience in living through this country and recognizing the privilege that you have. What was that process like for you? How did you come to be able to articulate these points? How did you see it? How did you experience it? And how do you educate others?
Big enough to fit your own weight and food into.
Always with the mindset of a teacher. I believe in learning what I need to learn and then putting it back out as simply and straightforward as possible for the listener. I'm still doing that. I find a lot of people have no clue of the privilege that they have, nor how they should be using that privilege. As I mentioned before, many people think being non-racist is okay, and that's enough to solve our country's problems, and instead we need to be actively anti-racist.
And what is the distinction between being non-racist and anti-racist?
Non-racist is saying I don't recognize anybody's color, I think that we're all equal and we should all be treated fairly, and that's kind to a point. I understand what they're trying to say.
Good evening, Master David.
And it comes from a place of good intention.
I'm having
However,
trouble sleeping, and I thought I'd do some exploring.
We need to rejoice in our differences. America is stronger for all of our differences brought together, and we need to accept that and go out of our way to stand up against racism when we see it. To be anti-racist
Where's the rest of
means to take an active stance of I am not going to tolerate that in my presence.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Ms. Pro.
We need to rejoice in our differences. America is stronger for all of our differences brought together.
That's what I see when I look at Trump's rallies. That's when I see the lies spewing at these people and people going, I gotta believe in something, and he said he'd bring my manufacturing job back and she didn't, and I'm all in. But at the end of the day, aside from, yeah, I don't want to pay taxes, it's race. It's race. This is about the Republican Party, or a wing of it, going, this is our last chance to save the party. And if we don't, it's the end of the Republican Party. And the only way they can do that was to tap the race button and say, go ahead, it's okay. And he did. And they did. And that was the only card they had left to play, and they played it. And they are going to go quietly.
I want to go back to race for a second, because I think it's great as a white guy that you are saying that there is a part of the Republican Party that is indeed have gone far and beyond and have become very, very racist. Because when people like me say it,
each big lighter undergoes more than 50 automatic quality and safety checks. Big safety you can count on.
we are told, oh, you know, that is not what's happening. It's about the economy. That's what it was for folks who went from Obama to Trump, for folks who voted for Trump.
And it is.
And that's part of it. But there is this there's this conversation that we avoid happening, and it is the race conversation. And I really want to explore that a little bit more, because you do live in Michigan, and you said that you heard from your neighbors, and they mentioned, you know, they voted for Trump, and you were really surprised by that. And so why do people run away from that? Why can't we not have that conversation, you being on Broadway right now?
Why can't we have that? Here's what you get. This doesn't affect me. It doesn't really affect me. I mean, the border walls, where is that? Texas? I mean, that's, you know, it's not in Michigan. That doesn't matter. I'm trying to make more money. I get my taxes done. I need jobs. Where are my manufacturing jobs? Yeah, I know, white, black, I don't care. It doesn't matter. But, you know, at the end of the day, this really should be a white country. It really should. Just because we've read the data that says in 2045, the white race is going to be the minority. So we got to move now.
Do you think they're scared by that?
Yes. I think this is all part of a whole bigger thing, Corinne. I think this is about get the government, get the power, put your arm around Putin, look at China and go, we're the new allies, and we're going after the North Pole. Because Mike Pompeo says you can save a lot of money if climate change happens and there's shipping lanes. You save 20 days on shipping. You save money. Let it melt. Who's going to control that? Who's going to get the oil under the North Pole? That's the next world war. And let's get the position, let's get the government, which I know has nothing to do with race, but race is a part of that, so be it. Because we are not going to give up power, and that's what this is about. And it's a shame, because that's not who we are, who we're supposed to be.
Let's build us a little Trump here. Everybody likes to have Trump in a painting. Just put Jim's cooking here. Maybe our Trump in the rooms is right here. Little tiny circles. Little tiny circles. There you go. And just let that brush dance and let it be. But think about a basic Trump shoot. Don't just throw it up there and think of Trump. It'll take it here. Gently, gently, gently.
Yes, Jim Acosta. Thank you, Mr. President. I wonder if you could comment on disconnect that we seem to have in this country, where you are distinction about what's happening at the border, calling it an invasion, talking about women with duct tape over their mouths and so on, and yet there's a lot of reporting out there, there's a lot of data out there, there's a lot of Department of Homeland Security data out there that shows...
By a man called Howard Phillips Lovecraft. Ghastly shades of bygone gladness. Clawing fiends of future sadness mingle in a cloud of madness, ever on the soul to lie. Thus the living, lone and sobbing, in the throes of anguish throbbing, with the loathsome furies robbing night and noon of peace and rest. But beyond the groans and grating of abhorrent life is waiting sweet oblivion, culminating all the years of fruitless quest.
incredible women
words
who
of a
lost their
troubled
daughters
soul.
and their sons. Okay? Because your question is a very political question, because you have an agenda. You're CNN, you're fake news, you have an agenda. The numbers that you gave are wrong. Take a look at our federal prison population. See how many of them, percentage-wise, are illegal aliens. Just see. Go ahead and see. It's a fake question. Yes, go ahead.
There's something about dealing with Jim Acosta that always ends up poorly for Trump. Here the questions seem to be simple and what everyone's been asking since day one. How is it that Trump can declare a national emergency when the supposed facts he cited don't actually support his case? And Acosta's right. Border crossings are at a near record low, and just last year hit their lowest point in nearly half a century. A point that Trump himself pointed out while bragging on Twitter just last year. Also important to consider is that the crime rates of immigrants is lower than that of native-born Americans. According to a study published by the Cato Institute, which, it should be noted, is a libertarian think tank, not a democratic one, there were 56% fewer criminal convictions of undocumented immigrants than native-born Americans. And beyond that, the same study showed that the more undocumented immigrants are in a population, the less violent crime there is. In other words, communities are actually safer when they consist of higher proportions of undocumented immigrants. And that's not to say that any crime is acceptable, including from undocumented immigrants. But in this instance, where the legitimacy of a national emergency is being called into question, if he's going to take this serious, urgent step to supposedly stop crime, why only focus on some minor aspect of it? That's like if the city was on fire and Trump ordered all the firefighters to make sure that there are no untended candles. And nowhere in Trump's furious response did he actually address the question. If anything, he challenged Acosta on his use of crime statistics.
That shows undocumented criminals or undocumented immigrants committing crime at lower levels than native-born Americans. What do you say to... You don't really believe that stat. Do you really believe that?
That's a pretty telling slip-up, that the guy doesn't even trust actual statistics on crime if they paint immigrants in any light better than native-born Americans. Instead, the very mention of adhering to facts and statistics is dismissed as fake news.
Wouldn't it be more comfortable working here?
Well, now this administration's
that's Lady
alternate
Gordon's
facts
private
are
desk.
about to be put to
It
the
would be
test in the
improper
courts,
for me to
and
use
it's
it.
unlikely that a judge will be as easily swayed as Trump's base is.
Have you ever smoked? Also, and I know the answer to this too, they say you oppose legalizing weed.
That's not true.
I know.
And look, I joke about it, half joking. Half my family's from Jamaica. Are you kidding me?
They be so mad at you. Have you ever smoked?
I have.
Okay.
And I inhale. I did inhale. It was a long time ago. But yes.
I know you have to go. They say you have to go.
I just broke news.
I mean, what was it, in college? See, I like stuff like that. That's a real honest answer. Was it blood or joint?
It was a joint.
Hey.
Yeah.
You remember the high?
I do.
So if it was legalized all throughout the country and medicinal, would you do it?
Listen, I think that it gives a lot of people joy, and we need more joy.
Now, also, I wanted to ask, with Barack Obama, when he was in office, a lot of African-American people felt like he didn't do anything for black people.
Yeah, so do you have an agenda for black voters?
Black agenda has to include HBCUs and looking at the historical fact that when the federal government gives attention to HBCUs, we end up having a profound impact on black people in America. Part of it is what I was describing about focusing on families that are making less than $100,000 a year. Part of it is focusing on what we need to do around reform of the criminal justice system, understanding that the mass incarceration policies of this country have led to black and brown men in particular. The issues that range, that exist, that need to be addressed and prioritized include everything from education to the healthcare system to the criminal justice system to the economy. People need to understand that when we talk about the agenda for black America, that is about America's agenda. It needs to be about America's agenda.
Well, attacked so fast for being a prosecutor, and people were upset about it. What do you say to some of those critics?
Well, first of all, look, I'm not going to ever apologize for saying that when a child is molested or a woman is raped or one human being kills another human being, that there should be serious consequence. I'm never going to apologize for that. I also believe strongly that the criminal justice system in America is deeply flawed and it must be reformed. And that's why I have dedicated myself to doing the work of, one, focusing on vulnerable populations and making sure they are safe, and equally focusing on what we need to do to reform the criminal justice system. And I'm going to tell you also, when we know a system needs to be reformed, when we know it's broken, there is certainly a role on the outside, but we also should not take ourselves out of the opportunity to be on the inside and have an impact there and be an ally to what we need to do around reform from the inside.
Let's talk about, and I'm less talking about policies than the dynamic of running against Donald Trump, because as we saw in 2016, he is a formidable candidate and a very unconventional candidate. Right. He's already making fun of your name. He's making fun of your looks, comparing you to Alfred E. Newman. If you say, what me worry right now, I'll give you $10, by the way. But seriously, how would you deal with him? Because that's one of the concerns, I think, for Democrats. Who can be on the debate stage, and how would you handle the insults and the attacks and the tweets and all of that?
The tweets are, I don't care. But,
and that gets a lot of applause here, the fact is it's a very effective way for him to reach tens of millions of Americans.
Well, it's a very effective way to command the attention of the media. And I think that we need to make sure that we're changing the channel from this show that he's created. Look, it's mesmerizing. It's hard for anybody to look away. Me too. It is the nature of grotesque things that you can't look away. But every time we're looking at the show and the latest tweet and the latest silly insult, what we're not looking at is the fact that we're the ones trying to get you a raise and they're the ones blocking it. We're the ones trying to preserve your health care and they're the ones trying to take it away. We're the ones who are actually prepared to deliver on something like paid family leave, and they're against it. Their positions, as a general rule, are unpopular. And if we focus on what's going to happen in your life, in other words, if we make it less about him and more about you, paradoxically, I think that's actually the best way to defeat him. Now, the other thing we've got to do is we've got to find people where they are. You know, a lot of folks in my party were critical of me for even doing this with Fox News.
If you don't mind,
and
I have a system and don't want to mix things up.
And I get
Lady
where that's
Gordon
coming
is
from,
very
especially when you
keen
see
on
what goes on with some of the
confidentiality.
opinion hosts on this network.
Of
When
course.
you've got Tucker Carlson saying that immigrants make America dirty, when you've got Laura Ingraham comparing detention centers with children in cages to summer camps,
Did you know my father?
then there is a reason
I was
why
called to the house
anybody has
shortly
to swallow
after your
hard to think
father
twice
arrived.
before participating
Why did that
in
need
this
a lawyer?
media ecosystem. But I
Those
also believe
complex
that
local
even though
laws
some
I
of those
spoke
hosts
of
are
are
not
to
always
blame.
there in good faith,
Your father
I think a
left
lot of
when
people
Edward
tune
died,
into this network,
so none of the
who do it in
required
good
legal
faith.
formalities
And
to
there are a lot
transfer
of
the house were
Americans
observed.
who my party
Does
can't blame
that mean...
if they are
Not at all.
ignoring our message,
There would be no
they will
issue
never
with
hear it
transferring the
if we
estate
don't
to
go
your
on
name.
and talk about it. And so it's why, whether it's going into the viewership of Fox News or whether geographically it's going into places where Democrats haven't been seen much, I think we've got to find who they are, not change them,
That
but
looks
update our vocabulary so
daunting.
that we're truly connecting with
Daunting,
Americans from
but
coast to coast.
rewarding
All right,
and
Mayor, we got to take a break here.
Fascinating.
Yes, indeed. The history of the Gordon family goes back a long way.
So it's true we are one of the oldest families in Scotland.
Oh, much more than that. The Gordons have owned this land back into antiquity, before records were even kept. Add to that some unique and unusual local laws.
This is Democratic presidential
Well,
candidate
it can
Pete
be a
Buttigieg,
challenge,
who has to be
but
thrilled with this
welcome.
reaction from the crowd at a Fox News televised town hall. And that's because South Bend, Indiana's Mayor Pete
have
came
you had a
under
chance
fire
to
for
examine my
appearing on
papers?
Fox News in the first
I
place,
have,
for
and I'm delighted to say that
legitimizing and earning
everything is
ad
in order.
revenue for a network that traffics
I
in
would
hate
not be doing
and
my job
racism
if I
and
didn't
bigotry.
warn you
And a
that
lot of
with
that
Edward
pressure
dead
came
and
after
your
another
father
Democratic
absent,
presidential
the
candidate,
family
Elizabeth
fortune
Warren,
has somewhat
explained her
diminished
rationale
over
for
the years.
icing out the network. She
However,
tweeted
the
that
real
Fox
treasure
is a
is the castle and the
hate-for-profit
grounds
racket that gives a
themselves.
megaphone to racists
I
and
haven't spent as much
conspiracists.
time as I'd
It's
like
designed
here,
to turn us
but
against each
it
other
is a
to provide
unique
cover for
place.
the corruption that's rotting our government and hollowing out our middle class. that it balances a mix of bigotry, racism, and outright lies with enough legit
I
journalism
noticed
to
that
make
the
the
door
claim
to
to
the master's
advertisers
study is
that it's a
locked.
reputable news outlet.
Might I
But it's all
get a
about
key for
driving
it?
an ad money.
Of
And then a
course.
Democratic
I
town
will
hall
see
gives
to
the
it that
Fox
you are
News
supplied
sales
with
team
one,
a way to
if
tell
there is
potential
one available.
sponsors it's safe to
No
buy
door
ads
shall
on
be
Fox.
locked to the
That she's done
soon-to-be owner,
hundreds of interviews
after
in
all.
17 states,
Well,
and that while Fox
it's
is
been a long
welcome to
day.
come to her events,
I bid you
she
good
won't
night.
ask Democratic
I'll
voters
get
to
myself
tune into
something to
Fox
read and
News
then
to
head
add
to bed
money to a
too.
network that profits
Good
a
night.
fee. And that is a perfectly valid excuse. And she's right in the sense that so long as the network is profitable for its advertisers in its current form, there's no reason to change. But if a Democrat is going to do a town hall on Fox News, Buttigieg's appearance is a clinic in how to do so, using it to call out hosts on that very network. I mean, he literally used their primetime airtime to serve a blow to their own hosts, which is absolutely well-deserved. Because while there are anchors on Fox News who are legitimate, like Chris Wallace and Shep Smith, it's their opinion hosts who get primetime slots and who actually represent the network. And these people unapologetically, shamelessly, and unabashedly serve as Trump mouthpieces with not a modicum of accountability or integrity. They demonize immigrants and spread conspiracy theories and serve as a safe haven for Republicans looking for softball interviews where they can lie to millions of viewers with no recourse. So to see Buttigieg use this platform that they so wanted him to appear on to then call them out on their home turf is beyond necessary. And look, I understand both sides of the coin, why someone would refuse to appear on the network, and why it could be beneficial to do so. But we've heard complaints about it from Republicans as well, and that conservatives would pile on, would have anything to say about this when their candidate, Trump, has barely done any interviews for networks that aren't fawn fests is ridiculous. When Trump goes on MSNBC, or when Fox gives airtime to Republican primary challengers like Bill Weld, then Republicans can pile on Democrats for not opting to give oxygen to the bad faith talking heads on Fox News. But Buttigieg didn't just use Fox's own airtime to trash the network. On the subject of Trump's tweets and insults and nicknames, by virtue of trivializing them, by exposing their grotesque nature, he set the stage perfectly for Trump to embarrass himself when he would inevitably tweet out whatever predictable, tired insult he can muster. And lo and behold, Trump did just that, tweeting that Fox is wasting airtime on Mayor Pete, that the network shouldn't cover Democrats at all, that he doesn't like Chris Wallace, and that Buttigieg will never be president. How surprising that Trump didn't enjoy watching his one and only vestige of sycophantism respond so well to a Democrat. Almost like the guy realizes that if Fox's viewers watched a competent, articulate, compassionate politician with good ideas and didn't just fearmonger and lie, they might actually respond well. Who could have guessed? And so when Buttigieg gets standing ovations on the heels of basically calling Trump's tweets a car crash that you can't look away from, and then Trump goes right on to do exactly that, it only lends credence to Buttigieg's message, that this presidency's novelty was in its grotesqueness, and that it's all but worn off. Honestly, imagine watching a live audience on your only friendly network give someone an ovation for calling you out on your petty tweets, and your response is to tweet a petty tweet. Trump is a one-trick pony, and even at the most politically opportune moment, he couldn't help himself but to prove exactly that. And so while Buttigieg's appearance on Fox News was always a risk, it's clear that the Democratic candidate made the best of it. And with final moments like this, it's no wonder Trump is getting nervous.
I hope you'll join me in making sure that that next era is better than any that we've had so far.